Thanks also to Dr. Morton. It's good to know that even after this bit of time I've spent being sick, there's still a lot more to know, and it's all very handy. And these workshops and stuff are a good place to learn more. I was diagnosed with Waldenstrom's in June 2011. I had a few cycles of chemo and waited about a year or so for an unrelated donor. So I had my stem cell transplant in February 2013, and I'd spent that time in and out of hospital, and usually a week or two at a time, a couple of times in ICU as well, and pretty much having a horrible time. But the transplant was a turning point in my cancer journey, as it was the last time I've had to spend any significant amount of time in the hospital. The 2.5 years since then still haven't been fun, but it has been slow progress all the way. Mostly just very, very tired all the time now, and I still get sick a little bit too regularly for my liking. But keeping in mind that it's just the GVHD grumbling along, it's all good signs that I'm getting better though. And I look at it as 3 steps forward and 1 step back. And as long as it stays that way, I'm moving in an overall forward direction, which it has been. After my monthly review last week, I found out my paraprotein level has finally dipped into single figures. It's been steadily dropping in the last 12 months to a level where my doctor said it'd still be possible to manage the cancer and live a pretty normal life. But our preference though is, of course, is to get that number below 10, and now we've achieved that. The next goal is my preference of a single figure that's a nice round number, that's 0. I feel it's achievable if I can keep doing the right things that have gotten me to this point. It hasn't always been easy, but it's definitely worth the effort. So even with all that I've been through these last 4 years, looking back, I feel lucky that my life has gone the way it has, even though it involved another great challenge. I began learning to meditate in 2006 to help me deal with a pretty severe bout of depression and anxiety. Now, with practice, I eventually grew to look forward to a new life with a much more positive outlook and a healthy self-esteem. In these early stages, I'd only practice infrequently and for short periods, but that was enough to get me through that challenge. So with more time and practice, I've learned that every little bit of meditation time I've put in, whether it's 5 minutes or 65 minutes, it has a positive effect on the way I face life and the things that happen to me. So I do practice much more now because I do get so much benefit out of it. With that habit slowly getting stronger, I began also to dabble in yoga to further my recovery, and at some time in 2009, 2010, I started practicing seriously. So in addition to the mental and spiritual benefits yoga has to offer, I believe the timing of this was also perfect to prepare me physically for the journey of this bone marrow transplant. I was also doing very physical work at the time as a labourer in construction and demolition, so by the time of my diagnosis in 2011 I was pretty fit and strong. So with these 2 habits well entrenched in my life, by the time of my diagnosis, I was pretty well prepared mentally and physically for the challenges of chemo and later the bone marrow transplant. But these habits also became more important in my recovery from the transplant. I did make use of some of my yoga stretches and stuff in my hospital bed to relieve pain at times, but the initial period after the transplant gave me loads of time to practice my meditation. This practice helps me to keep a positive attitude, but meditation and yoga, it also involves learning how to relax, and this ability to consciously relax, I found, helps greatly to cope with pain or nausea or boredom, tension, worry, and it's a very handy tool to get through these hard times. Now, the It's All About Me workshops conducted here by the Leukaemia Foundation, they cover helpful topics, including mindfulness or meditation techniques and stretching and relaxation techniques taken from yoga. If you haven't already been to one, or even if you have, this part of the workshop serves as a pretty good introduction to these techniques, which can be so helpful to you. it really is worth finding out about different meditation techniques and giving them a go until you find what suits you. Another of the Leukaemia Foundation's programs, Fit to Thrive, was also instrumental in helping me regain weight and strength and to get closer and closer to feeling normal again. For most of 2013, from the end of January to early November, I didn't feel physically well enough or had the energy to attend any yoga classes. But I finally started again slowly, once a week at first, and eased back into activity with these gentle exercises. And that's why yoga is such a perfect way to help you recover. The proper way to learn yoga is just to practice it to your own limits and just a little further. So that's perfect for a step-by-step recovery, and that's what the last 2.5 years have been. One step, then another and another. Sometimes a backward step, but overall moving in a forward direction. So if you think yoga is something you might like to try, a good place to start. There's relaxation classes here through the Leukaemia Foundation, just check that out. Or a group that I registered with very early in my diagnosis was a group called Anahata Healing. There's many schools involved from Brisbane, the Gold Coast and Sunshine Coast, and they offer free and discounted classes for cancer patients and their carers. They've been a great help to me, and you can find out more about them at on yinhealth.com. So just check it out. And I mentioned earlier that yoga took a backseat for about 9 months after my transplant. So rest is important in the early stages, but so is activity as soon as you can manage it. It could be as little as just a few steps to your door and back to bed, or a walk down the hall when you're ready for it. It doesn't matter how little you do, as long as you do a little. It all counts towards your recovery, and these little steps will grow larger and larger over time as you grow stronger. I was lucky enough to get a place on the Fit to Thrive program last year, and that helped me to build further on the progress I'd made up to that stage. Just like my yoga, this 12-week program is designed for your level of fitness where you're at it at the time, and to slowly increase your weight and strength over that period. But more importantly, it helped me to feel good while trying to do that. And that's important. I'd spent so much time not feeling good that anything that could improve on that for any amount of time really is worth the effort. So basically, recovery's been long and slow, and I've come to accept that it'll continue for some time yet. The important thing though is that it's been constantly moving forward, and that I can see that. It keeps me motivated to keep up these activities that have got me to this point, and as a bonus, these same activities have helped me to feel good just that little bit more often. I've often been amazed how I feel after a session in the gym or a yoga class when I didn't really feel like going in the first place, but went anyway. I've literally thanked myself many times for pushing myself that little bit when I've needed to. It really is worth the effort. As hard as the transplant and recovery process has been, it has also been worth the effort. I just keep repeating myself, don't I? Looking back at how I felt at different times since my diagnosis up until now, I have made great progress. And I see the transplant as a turning point in my cancer journey, where things actually started moving in a positive direction. Now I think I can see a little white speck that just may turn into a light at the end of the tunnel as I get closer to it. Good luck to those of you about to embark on the journey. I can't promise you that it will be any fun, but it's definitely worth the effort. Thank you.